then. So, Professor Stuart Gwilt, how you doing?
How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me over at the gym.
No, hope you like it.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. We'll get some footage and we'll show everyone that's watching. Unfortunately, if you're listening, you just have to come down and check it out, or go to the Gracie Barra Halesowen website, or have a look on Instagram, and they'll be able to follow it.
Probably switch off with my accent in a minute.
We're definitely, well, both of us from the West Midlands, so they're going to have to put up with it. How are things going? All right?
Yeah, good. Really busy at the moment. Got a nice new influx of people starting since obviously Christmas.
Right.
Get a lot of fitnessy kind of industries tend to boost around about that time. So hopefully we're going to keep people. You know, we have got a nice facility here, and obviously the jiu-jitsu's very close from the source. So if they're coming for jiu-jitsu, hopefully we can offer them like pretty much the best kind of jiu-jitsu, hopefully.
How did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Well, to be honest, it was kind of like accidental. I mean, I used to work in retail many years ago, and there was a person called Adrian, who was a manager of a shop in, it was even New Street, it was somewhere in Birmingham. And I remember he used to always talk to me about jiu-jitsu. I didn't even know what the hell jiu-jitsu was, I'll be honest with you. And then time passed away, time passed should I say, and I just wanted to do some form of martial art, and I just remember Adrian had spoken to me about jiu-jitsu, saying how effective it was. He used to always comment on how, like, if he had to deal with an aggressive customer, how he would use jiu-jitsu, blah, blah, blah. So I just looked up jiu-jitsu. At this point, I had no idea what jiu-jitsu was. I knew that it was like some kind of holding people and like moving their arms and stuff.
What year are we kind of?
Oh gosh, it's got to be like, I've been doing jiu-jitsu, if you include Japanese jiu-jitsu, I've probably been doing jiu-jitsu almost 20 years,
wow,
roughly, if you include Japanese.
So you did that first?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to get to, is the Japanese. And I just like typed in like jiu-jitsu. I didn't really know how to spell it anyway, so must have been the Japanese that came up, because at the point I didn't know what the difference was. And then I just saw there was a few like kind of jiu-jitsu schools. One was local to me, well, it's not that local, but it's Braulio Hill, and I'm from Stourbridge. So I just went up there, just had a chat with a guy there. His name was John Sharp. He was a really super nice guy, and it was part of an association called Tai Jitsu Kai, and that was based in Worcester way, I think it was, around that kind of area, Droitwich. And I just started going from there, to be honest, and then I started to get the bug where I kind of realised that I was no good. So I had to try to go as often as I could. Luckily enough, I've been with my wife since we were like 14. So she was kind of very supportive of me trying to do extra. So I was going 3 or 4 times a week. Wow. And then, like, accidentally, somebody who used to work in Diffusion in Maryhill, there's one in Wolverhampton. He was the manager in the one in Maryhill many, many years ago when it was down the other end, by where TK Maxx is. And he said to me, do you want to come to a seminar like with somebody? And I was like, wow, okay, yeah, who's this guy? And he just said his name's like Royce Gracie. And I was like, oh, well, who is this guy? And he said he's the hardest man in the world. And I was like, oh, okay. So like, I'm expecting, like, I go to this seminar in Sheffield. Yeah. And I think at the time I was probably like a blue belt. Brazilian, in Japanese jiu-jitsu, not Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, and I was quite like decent at the Japanese side. I seemed to be doing okay with my sparring. I was very slow at learning, but I always tried to do extra classes. And then, well, I went along to this seminar, not even realising who this guy was. And I can remember getting there saying, like, I mean, I'm not being funny. I said to the guy, but I don't think this guy is the toughest guy in the world. Like, there was nothing to him. I couldn't believe this, like, he was telling me he was the toughest guy in the world. And anyway, he got from there to, like, and then that was my first real kind of understanding of what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was. But at that point, I still didn't know the difference. And so then I come back home, And then I wanted to do a little bit of extra jiu-jitsu as time had passed, probably a few months maybe. And then I wanted to do a little bit of extra jiu-jitsu. So then I typed in jiu-jitsu again, and then this other club came up called Roblox. So I phoned up and they said, you know, we've got a world champion here. And I was like, well, yeah, you know, everyone's a world champion. So I want to come down and I want to train, basically. So I went down anyway. They said, we've got this guy called Braulio Estima. Like, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not being funny, but was that a name, like Braulio Estima? I had no idea who Braulio was. Yeah. Absolutely no idea. And so I'll go down, bearing in mind in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, it's a lot different to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like nowadays in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's heard of that like lower belts can beat higher belts. It's not really so much different as what it used to be. Back in the day, it was more a lower belt never could beat like a higher belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, it was very much like, it was very common. It wasn't even like thought of being different, that a black belt might get tapped by a white belt. Well, maybe not a white belt, but like a blue belt or something. It wasn't. So I was quite successful in Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese Jiu-Jitsu in the sparring. So I remember going, I'm sure Braulio's gonna love this story, and Victor, because they loved me telling it when they're there. So, and I remember going there, and I can remember like seeing Braulio, and I can remember thinking like, you know what, I don't think this guy's gonna be. He's a black belt at the time. He just got his black belt, but I was thinking, I don't think like this guy, and he's gonna be able to like defend against me. I think I might be able to beat him. Like,
I already know where this story is going.
Yeah, I think everyone who's listening is going to know exactly where the story is going. And then I happened to set eyes onto Victor, because I think he was in the change room. I can't remember exactly, just roughly. And he came out, he had this curly hair, like long, like looked a bit like a lion. And he came out, and he was a purple belt. He was about 18. Wow. Yeah. And I obviously thought, well, I just looked straight through him. I thought, man, maybe I'm just gonna like play with this guy for a bit. Bear in mind, I was young as well. Obviously, this was like maybe like, this could have been like between 18 and 17 years ago. So I was obviously a lot younger myself, immature and not really knowing what's what. So I didn't go in with an attitude of like I'm going to beat him. I just went in an attitude of thinking like what I thought in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Right. You know, it wasn't like I was going, oh, I'm going to do this. It was just in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, it was very common for that to happen. So I went in anyway, and then at the end of the class, they spar every class in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I was like, oh, you know, do you want to spar? Do you not want to say, yeah, of course I want to spar. So that's what I want to do. That's all I've wanted to do. Yeah. So anyway, I start sparring, and it just didn't end very well. Braulio and Victor were super nice to me, but they let me know that like there was a bit of a difference between me and them.
How long did it take during the spar for you to realise, oh, hang on a second?
The first second. Like, the first second their hands got put on me, and I realised flopping around wasn't going to work. And then before I knew it, I was getting helicopter armbarred, flipped all over the place. But I don't know how to say it, but it was in the nicest possible way. It wasn't like, I never walked out of there feeling like they was abusive towards me. Right. They were very welcoming, they were very nice, they talked to me after the class. You know, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have gone back. So I remember calling my wife, well, obviously it wasn't my wife at the time, but my wife now, and I can remember saying like, she was like, oh, did you enjoy it? And I was like, well, I just don't know what's happened to me. Like, I don't know what's happened. All I know is I'm coming back. And that was it. That was when I first kind of got into it. So that's awesome. It was down to Braulio and Victor really that gave me that kind of passion.
So when Braulio first kind of got established at Stevie B's, there was that was the first place, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Because it was Mauricio Gomez that set up in Birmingham.
Yes, yeah, in the custard factory.
Right.
Yeah.
And did he pass that on to Braulio?
Yeah, I think Braulio was the person who was the guy that was going to come over and take over from. So Mauricio, I think, came over and laid the seeds, and then obviously Braulio's kind of grown the trees and blossomed everything, and Victor. Both Victor as well. So
in the early days, there must have been a core group of you that, when I look around and look at social media and go to different competitions, I see all of you with your own gym. Yeah. So there was you, there was Norby, there was Neil Simpkins.
Yeah.
Who else? Nathan?
Yes, yeah.
Nathan Roberts.
Yeah, Rob Stevens, Chew.
Kev Webb?
Kev Webb, yeah. See, like, as much as I'd like to take credit and say that, yeah, I was, like, I feel before me, there was people like Glenn. Barry Foley.
Right.
His partner at the time was called Rachel. You know, they were the ones really that were there when I got there. You know, and then like I was maybe the next kind of breed. I was the first kind of breed of people, but for Glenn, I don't. You may not even know Glenn. He's like a South African guy from Birmingham. He was like phenomenal. Just yeah.
He's still doing it.
He's still doing it now. He's a black belt under Kevin now, Kevin Webb.
Oh, okay.
And then you had the likes of Kevin was Kevin when I first got into like Stevie B's. Kevin was like my like kind of close friend. Like he's somebody who like I was looked up to a lot because he used to help me and like take me aside and help me like do different improvement techniques. So he was like the one that I kind of looked up to there.
Is that still going on, or do you?
Yeah, I don't see Kevin as much because he runs a gym called, I think it's called Prior in Acox Green, and obviously I'm from Stourbridge, so I'm like miles away. And in the process, I've gained 3 children.
Life goes on,
and
it gets very busy.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, every time I see him at competition, I say hello to him and ask how he is and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll never forget those times when he helped me when I wasn't like really very good at all.
Do you think there's any kind of grounds in when people move and leave teams and set their own teams?
Yeah.
Does that kind of cause any issues, or are you kind of big enough to see past all that and just say?
No, I don't think it's an issue in terms of like friendships. No, I think above all, friendship has to like remain as long as like something bad's not gone on, of course.
Yeah.
But no, nothing did really with Kevin. I think it was a case of like he had a few like personal issues with his health that like stopped him from training a bit, and then I think he came back into it, and at that point I think Braulio had got everybody at his gym, so I don't really think he took over where Braulio left off at Stevie B's, to be honest with you. So I kind of feel like he didn't do anything like going against another team really, to be honest.
How long was it before you got your black belt?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. 10 years, but that was 10 years of me, like, that was 7 years maybe of me, 6 to 7 years of me working in Birmingham and training 3 times a day.
Wow.
It wasn't like I was 10 years of like going once a week.
Yeah.
It was 10 years of like, I've said this week to everybody in my school. Without my time in Birmingham, working there, I think, especially, and like Braulio and Victor, that's what's laid the seeds for me to blossom now. Because, like, obviously, I can't get to Birmingham as much as I want to now. Obviously, I live far away. It's moved even further away. Obviously, I had the back surgery, which I'm sure you'll talk about in a minute. And obviously, with my family and stuff, it's hard to get back all the way over to Birmingham because it's almost like a day. Like with travelling, I've got children at school, I have to take them to school, pick them up. I'm not trying to say it's the hardest job in the world, but time's time. So those extras I did there and the opportunities that Braulio gave to me and Victor, those are really, like, I know it, like a lot of people say things and they don't mean it, like, but I genuinely do mean without those two, like I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, and I wouldn't be able to be as an instructor at what I think is like a decent level, I think, without the kind of having to be and spend the time that I had with those people. Like that's really, in a nutshell, is the time I spent with them that I didn't know at the time. Because when I was there working with Braulio, my mission was never to own a school. It was never to be, oh, well, I'm going to be here, I'm going to see what goes on, and then I'm going to open a school. That was never my mission, like really, I mean, quickly going into the school, the only reason I got into the school was accidentally. It was, Victor was running Gracie Barra Halesowen, and I was his highest belt there because I live in Stourbridge. My first child was born, and getting to Birmingham every day at the time, because I wasn't working there at the time, getting there every day was difficult. So what I did was I started to switch a bit of training with Victor, and I used to go to Halesowen when Victor was in Halesowen, and then I was the highest belt there. So then after like X amount of time, Victor had a great opportunity to go and open his own school and blossom for himself in Nottingham. So Victor went to Nottingham, and then he passed on the torch to me in Halesowen, and that was the reason why I ended up with a school. Also, I'll probably still be in Birmingham, really, working.
When you said working in Birmingham, do you mean like working a full-time job as well as coaching, or coaching at the
No,
school?
I was working for Birmingham, in Birmingham, sorry,
Right.
with Braulio,
Right.
as his academy manager.
Oh, okay, right.
And a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd given up my full-time job then as working in retail,
Right.
Which was a big risk, but like, you know, obviously I'm glad I did it, but at the time it was very worrying with, like, my child was just born, and you know, I had a house, so I was quite concerned, but I just thought, you know what, I trust nobody more than I trust Braulio and Victor, so I went with that kind of gut feeling.
I think we're quite lucky, aren't we, that they came to Birmingham of all the places.
Yeah.
They ended up in the West Midlands.
And that's why I try and tell, like, it's hard now, because I do think in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, the lineage of people now is almost like people don't seem to, like, think about it as much anymore, which I'm not saying is right, I'm not saying is wrong, I'm just saying from myself, I feel lucky because I accidentally fell into Braulio. I never sourced him like I want to get the best jiu-jitsu fighter in the world, and I want to train with that person. I didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was, so I wasn't getting into that. I didn't even know who Braulio was, so I didn't even know who the world champion was. I didn't even know there was a world championships. So I accidentally fell into Braulio and Victor, and you know, because of what amazing guys they are and what they gave to me, it kind of came really from them. Like everything, I think, has come from them. And nobody's seen Braulio and Victor work as hard as I've seen work. Like, and I think people still don't know that to this day. Like I remember years ago when Braulio was travelling up and down the country, and I went with him like a lot of times. Milton Keynes, Portsmouth, Wales. I went with him a lot. This wasn't now and again. This was regular. Milton Keynes was every week. I mean, I went a couple of times with him and it destroyed me. I wasn't getting back until midnight. And this guy was doing it. Him and Victor were doing it. And like, people don't see that. All they see now is Braulio Estima, the world champion, Victor Estima, head of Gracie Barra Europe. Oh, so it's okay for them. It's okay for them. They never saw the bit in between. You know, I'm not saying they're Conor McGregor by any means, but what I'm saying is it's a bit like that Conor McGregor syndrome. People see him and think, oh, it's easy. It's all right for him. I can get I want what he's got. They never see the little bit in between, the lot in between that's made him what he is today, and that's what they don't see with Victor and Braulio. They don't see that. I don't care what club you're from in the UK, there's a very good chance there's some link to Braulio and Victor somewhere. I'm not trying to say everybody. I know there's the Colsons and I know all the other clubs and they had their own people. I'm not saying they're responsible. I'm just saying a lot of the schools that were spread within within Europe, but in the UK especially, was the hard work that obviously Mauricio laid, and then Braulio and Victor. You know, what two better people could you have put in a position? Because Victor was a kid. Victor was 18. Braulio wasn't much older. You know, and look what they've done. Victor's like now head of Europe, and rightfully so. You know, he didn't get put in that position. He earned the position. Braulio's like pretty much one of the best grapplers. Victor as well. Victor, in my opinion, is the best grappler to ever not win the worlds in the gi. I mean, he's won it no gi, but he's by far the best. I think, that never won it in the gi. You know, and still to this very day, he's one of the toughest jiu-jitsu fighters and most exciting fight. Going off key a bit, but getting a bit tingly talking about it. Watching him fight is like watching no other. He fights to fight. He doesn't fight, you know, just to win. He fights for the, you know, for the fight as well. You know, so I think it's just them guys really that I just feel privileged to have been a part of. There's nothing up with being a part of other teams, by the way. You know, whatever team you're in, whatever jiu-jitsu you're doing, if it's your own team, whatever, it's great you're doing jiu-jitsu and that's good. But I just feel from my path, I feel like blessed that I met Braulio and Victor, because I wouldn't have wanted to be part of anybody else. I wouldn't have wanted anything from anybody else. I still go to sleep now and still like put my gi on and still think of, you know, still think of Braulio and Victor and still think of like, wow, you know, my jiu-jitsu's from these two and then my friends as well. So it's like, you know, what more could you ask?
Well, you talk and you pay great kudos to them in your kind of development, but you've you know, done down your own success here. Yeah. You know, you're sat in front of me. You're a 3-stripe black belt.
2.
Oh, what's the what?
This the tags at the end of the instructors.
Oh, sorry, 2-stripe.
Yeah, I'm too young to be 3-stripe.
2-stripe black belt. You've got your own school.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. Looking around, you know, all the Gracie Barra kit over there. It's such a welcoming family place. You know, the couches. You've got the functional fitness gym in the back.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think people will probably say the same when they look at your Instagram or your social media and go, gosh, Stuart, look at the life he's living over there.
Yeah, probably, yeah. I do have a few people think that, but yeah, it's not like
and
that.
They don't understand all the work that goes in behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, on average, let's say, how many classes, because you said you're the main kind of instructor here.
Yes, well, yeah, I teach most of the classes. Like, usually in a week, I'll probably teach, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll probably teach not far off 20 classes with private lessons.
Okay, so that's a minimum of 20 hours. Yeah. Some of the classes could be an hour and a half.
Yeah, a lot of them
we're
are.
Already up at 37 hours, 41 hours a week.
And my gym's well known for like classes like going over extra training.
So then,
unfortunately,
add all the time in between that, before and after the prep time. You know, the kind of like the rundown after class where you discuss, look, you know, let me talk to you about this concept, whatever. Yeah. And then there's all the stuff that you have to do with the business. So that's just time on the mat.
Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? So
yeah, I mean,
we touched on this briefly when I met you at All Stars last week, and I said, you know, you must be doing an incredible amount of hours.
Yeah, I think you do more hours than you know you're doing, because you're doing a kind of a passion. So you don't tend to realise what you're doing. Like, I mean, I'm very lucky as well because of my family. Like I say, I've been with my wife for nearly 26 years now. So we've been together since we were like kids. So we've kind of grown up together, and you know, she, I think, understands that like it's not just about me coming here and teaching and I mean, it could be, but that's the difference between me and someone else, I suppose, is like, I don't want to just teach the class and then forget about it. I want to teach the class and I want to think about, okay, what have I got to teach next class? What did I teach? How was I right in the way I taught? Did I come across right to everybody? Was my mannerisms right? Did the new person enjoy it? Did the experienced one get enough of the technique? In fact, was it even good enough for him or her? You know, so I think a little bit like that. Obviously, you're popping around your social media kind of stuff. You know, you want to make sure that the next day is a good day, so you have to tidy the gym down and stuff. You know, we don't have a cleaner here. It's myself, my wife, and my children. You know, and the reason I do that now is because the way as I see it is, obviously it's great to have extra people working, but sometimes you want it done a certain way. And also I think it's good for the development of my own children, for them to kind of, you know, understand that, you know, it's not just your dad's gym and you can come in and just do what you want. You know, there's an element of like earning that you has to go into it. Like, I'm not talking monetary. I'm talking like, you know what, we're a unit, we're a family, not just me and my immediate family. I'm talking me and the students and my family. We're all a family, so the mats can't be dirty because it's not fair on the students. The gym has to be tidy because that's what the students expect. You know, and I think my children get that. So I think it's good life skills to learn, my own children, and that's why I choose to do that stuff myself.
It's good that you have such high standards, because those high standards then get absorbed by everybody else that you're teaching.
Yeah.
All your coaches will look at it and say, well, that's how Stuart does it. If Stuart's in cleaning the mats, then I've got no problems coming in and swabbing and cleaning the mats. I mean, it is an absolutely phenomenal place, and you look around and you think, I'd love to come in here, this is great.
Oh, well, you're on a run down here actually, because we haven't had chance to, we haven't wrapped everything up yet, but my wife's just finished off the hoovering round there. Then when I've done here, I'll quickly have to do the mats, and then you know, we got a few things. You know, for me, I'm looking in and I can see a lot of things need doing. Right. That's what I see. I don't see kind of the same things you see, but that's a good thing because I'm never settled, which is a good and a bad thing. Good thing because you stress about things you shouldn't stress about, but then, you know, bad because I suppose you're just like kind of thinking, do you ever like relax? I don't know, but
well, your wife was saying you guys haven't had a holiday in a while.
No, I haven't had a holiday.
I don't think people realise that. People that rock up to gyms and think, God, look at him, all he does is teach jiu-jitsu all day. They don't realise that you guys haven't actually had a break and been away.
No. Well, I haven't had a day off. I haven't had a day off properly, really, for like, I don't really remember like really having a day off, like, because sometimes I have like support. I have like good support. I have like my professor.
You've got Taz.
You got Taz Khan. He's a real good help. He's helped me out a lot. He takes some of the classes. He takes a Wednesday class for me, and if I need any cover, he's always the first there. I have like Laura Barker.
Who just done really well in the Europeans.
She teaches for me on a Wednesday as well on the other classes. Laura Barker's not my black belt, by the way. I'm not taking credit for that. That's Braulio and Victor. For that, Laura's a friend of mine that I've known since she was a kid, and she just comes down because she's from Halesowen and helps me out. Her jiu-jitsu credit is from Braulio, Victor, and her cousin Bradley Hill. So not from me. Not saying we don't train with each other and stuff, but the credit's more them.
Do you see the parallels between, you know, what you're building in your family and your kind of, you know, this gym and this kind of unit? Do you think that message is replicated with the Gracie Barra ethos?
I think it is. We have like we have certifications that we do, like which are, some people they can moan and say like, you know, what is jiu-jitsu, don't need to do that stuff, but hey, you know what, I've been here from the beginning since it came over from like when Braulio came over, and you know what, I think these things are good because I think, one, they don't allow your instructor to be complacent. Okay, they make your instructor be on their toes. Okay, I think, two, anything in your job that you do, because this is a job at the end of the day, anything in the job that you'll do that's going to make you better is got to be something that's worth doing, I believe. And ultimately, number three, if your students are going to benefit from you doing something, then wouldn't you do it anyway? So I think so, yeah. I mean, for me, I'm kind of lucky because my mentality is their mentality as well. So if I wasn't Gracie Barra, which is hard to imagine, I think I would just be doing the same thing. If I wasn't Gracie Barra, I would have a uniform. If I wasn't Gracie Barra, I'd have like dojo etiquettes. If I wasn't Gracie Barra, I'd have a structure. So I want to be Gracie Barra. You know, I'm just lucky that I am with them as it is. But I think Master Carlos's vision when he was like young, he could have quite easily opened up a school and called it Carlos Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But his vision was bigger than that. His vision was like, he didn't just want a school where it had to benefit from just himself. He wanted everybody else to benefit. And it's the same, I think, mentality for your main school owners. Like for me, my aim for my students is to hopefully in the future to help them have their own Gracie Barra schools. You know, especially like Professor Taz. You know, I've got a few good guys coming up the colours, and hopefully they'll, you know, progress through to professors, and hopefully I can be there opening their schools with them, and you know, that's going to be the real reward, is that kind of thing, you know.
Legato said that the message from Carlos was so powerful.
Yeah.
And he felt he owed him so much.
Yeah.
But that's why he wants to be and remain Gracie Barra.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I have actually met Master Carlos, and I spent quite a bit of time when I competed at the Pan Ams in 2006. I think it might have been 5. I'm unsure the exact year. We stayed with Master Carlos, Holes Gracie, Gregor Gracie, Hodger Gracie. At that time, he was competing with Gracie Barra as well. I think that was his last year. So we all stayed together. That was like a trip of a lifetime. I didn't even know how lucky I was, but looking back now, unreal. In fact, you've reminded me, I'm going to actually message Braulio and see whether he's got any pictures, because at the time I didn't even care about pictures. I didn't even know what was what. I didn't even take any pictures, so I might message him. But as much as I have connection with Master Carlos in that area, and it's all within our gym, is Master Carlos. For me, Braulio and Victor, they're the ones that I owe it to them. Okay, Master Carlos's vision is well within me, but also my loyalty to Braulio and Victor is boom. I feel my heart pumping just thinking about it.
I've heard, and people have said, that jiu-jitsu, especially Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because of the sport element, has been watered down. What are your thoughts on that? And if you could think back to that time when you were training 15 years ago with Braulio in the early days with all those guys, Neil, Kev, Norby, what would be the difference between then and now? Because I mean, I've heard some stories that it was pretty rough. And
well, yeah, I was there at the beginning as well, so I don't think it's watered down in that sense. No, I think, of course, it's going to look watered down because the black belts are going to be coming a little bit sooner, the coloured belts are going to be coming a little bit sooner, but there has to be some change for the sport or the self-defense to grow. There's a certain percentage of people that will just keep coming back, and I was one of those people, as many others at the beginning. But to open up our brilliant martial art to the world, it can't just be on our terms. It can't just be on, okay, I'm going to come to class today, Braulio, Victor, Stuart, Norby, Kevin, Glenn, you know, all these like tough guys, and we just want to smash each other, that's pretty much what it was back in the day. You know, but it couldn't be that way now. One, I'm older, so I don't know whether I could even cope. But two, I don't think it could be that way and grow. So if you want to keep it that way and keep it like down, then yeah, you can still have that way. You can still have the toughness, but you have to have, which is again our philosophy and what our slogan is jiu-jitsu for everyone. So you can still have those, you know. I've seen Victor's comp classes in Nottingham. Mate, you ain't nowhere in the world better than the guys that are up there. You know, Victor, you know, Ollie, you know, Tom, Sean, Gareth. You know, I'm sure there's Jacob in Birmingham. You know, a bunch of, mate, I probably missed out loads of people. Like, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Yeah. Like, if you want a tough train, the people are there, you're not going to get better. But then there has to be that person who, he's just coming a couple of times a week, but he's still got to get graded. So then it looks watered down because you're looking at it as a whole.
And but you get, well, then there's two sides of the argument, because you can argue, well, we're going to develop that person, so he doesn't get smashed and injured and think this isn't for me, and he stays in it longer. He gets better. You just give him more time. People pick up martial arts or sports or anything in life at different particular levels. And it's, I suppose, the progression, especially with the Gracie Barra element, it's recognised that we need to put a system in place.
Yeah, and I think that's why Gracie Barra is ahead of its time. And
thank God the rain stopped.
I know, yeah. Well, it's on this roof as well. It sounds terrible. The kids are always
That was probably one of those moments where we were hitting the red on the mic.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hopefully you can cut it out. But yeah, I think with the Master Carlos and I've lost track where I was there.
I'd said watered down, and the difference between when you first started in Birmingham,
I get that,
all of you guys,
and
what your kind of like response would be to that comment, and well, you've more or less answered it.
Yeah. I think when you were saying like you could say it's more healthy, keeping it going a bit longer. I think Gracie Barra, what I was trying to say was ahead of its time. So I think as much as we have great clubs, like teams, should I say, like the Colsons, the Atos and AOJ and all those like big clubs, and I think Gracie Barra is doing stuff that I think everybody's eventually going to do. Okay, I think they're a bit ahead of the time. Right. They always say that about Mercedes cars. They always say they're 10 years ahead. Yeah, 10 years ahead of the time. I'm not saying, obviously, I think Gracie Barra is the best school because I'm with Gracie Barra, but I can understand everyone thinks their team's a better team. But what I'm saying is really Gracie Barra have got these structures in place, and I think they're not for greed, they're for the development of not just the school owner, but for the future, the child in the class, for when they're older as well.
I've been to other gyms, spoke to other black belts and gym owners, and they've all said, we could do with a curriculum.
Yes, yeah.
And a bigger mission, a mission statement, and that's kind of what keeps you.
Well, I think for me, like at the end of the day, I wasn't like, I'm not saying I was the best kid at school, but which I wasn't. But it's kind of like I did put a post up the other week about it. I was kind of saying like, you know what? Would you send you come to Jiu-Jitsu to learn? It's like a martial art. Some people say it's like an education. Would you send your kid to school with no structure? They're just going to go into class and decide what they're going to do on the day. Well, you wouldn't, surely not. You wouldn't go to an education when you go to uni.
That's a good point.
You want to go to a university that's well structured.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn Jiu-Jitsu and you're mature enough about it to not say, oh, I want to learn a heel hook today, horse is crap, I don't want to learn anything else, then you're going to go where the structure is. And the thing is, it's like, it's great when like all these nice techniques come out, like, heel hook here, inverted heel hook, and all this. It is good to practice those techniques, by the way, like I don't think it's not. But I think as a whole, I kind of try to tell my students, Jiu-Jitsu is a bit like a dinner plate. You have your mains that you need to have. You got to have your proteins, you got to have your your meat, if you have it from meat. Obviously if you're vegan, you don't have that.
Vegans everywhere.
But like you have I don't know what, I'm not a vegan, but whatever you might have to compensate the protein.
Yes.
Then you're gonna have your greens, you're gonna have your your things like that. And then that's your solid jiu-jitsu. So that's when you're kind of guard.
Fundamentals.
Your fundamentals. Then on the side should be a dessert, and that's why I try and explain to my students about their leg locks, their heel hooks, their foot locks, that kind of stuff. I said do it and practice them as much as you can. I said, but never forget your main dish, never forget the main plate. Don't go straight for the dessert. I don't mean in the sparring, because obviously if you're doing competitions where you can heel hook and you can get it, then just go for it. But I'm just saying, try to have a basics. People look at Gordon Ryan, people look at Gary Tonin, people look at all these guys, Craig Jones, and they think they're leg lock guys. I personally don't think they're leg lock guys. I just think they're awesome at jiu-jitsu, and they're very good at leg locks as well. So people mistake them for being leg lock. I'm not saying they're not leg lock, obviously they're very good, they're the best in the world, but they are brilliant at all areas of jiu-jitsu. I've personally seen Gary roll in Birmingham, and his jiu-jitsu was phenomenal. He wasn't just a leg lock guy. And Gordon, they did a seminar in Birmingham, and they all came and did rolls and stuff. And Gary came on a separate occasion and rolled with Braulio, and I watched Gary roll with a few of the students, and he I don't think he even went for a leg lock, but he was so good at fundamentals. And I see that in Craig, I see it in Gordon, obviously, and I see it in Gary, and I see it in a lot of the other guys. And so I try to tell, it's easy for students to look at them always winning via leg locks or something and think that that's all they do, but they don't. They're so good, they've built up such a fundamentals that they can add this on. You know, they've got such a solid plate, or such a like well-rounded, balanced diet plate, that they can have that little bit of chocolate bar at the side. And I try to get them to think like that, and I think it works. It's
a good metaphor,
yeah. Get all that from Braulio. All that good. Braulio's a wizard at these kind of things.
When he, like I said, when I transferred over from Coventry to Birmingham in November, I mean, I've had 5 sessions where he's been teaching. He's obviously busy and he does a lot of travelling. But when he's teaching and he starts going into concepts and stuff, I feel everything else zone out, and I feel like he's just talking to me. You're like,
you haven't seen the half of it. I mean,
I would say I'm literally just scratching the surface.
He's another level. I've seen that guy. I've seen Braulio be a broken man. I've seen him in the office. I hope you don't mind me saying I've seen him crying.
Well, I'm going to speak to him. He said we can go on Monday. So
I've seen Braulio crying in the office through personal problems, and then I've seen him walk on the mat. I'm getting teary thinking about it, and I've seen him deliver a masterclass. Like, the inspiration that gives you is like phenomenal. I've seen him broken. I've seen him, he shouldn't even be on the mat. He shouldn't even be training. And I've seen him come out and teach 3 or 4 classes.
Despite what's going on.
No one knows. No one knows. Everybody feels like they're the best thing in the room. And that to me is inspiring as a teacher, to see him do that, because
why?
He could be arrogant. He could just be, I'm the jiu-jitsu champion. I have an issue. I'm going home. I'm not going to do it. I don't care. And yet he comes on and delivers like a master. I don't even know myself. He's been upset, and I'm in the class.
Do you think that's because it humanises him more, and that's what makes us easier to connect?
Yeah, I'm unsure, but I just think Braulio is just gifted. I really do. I think he's gifted in jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's for lack of hard work, by the way. Like, I think he's put as much hard work in as anybody else. But I think there's a level to this game, like, and his level is just, he's gone through the boss level.
Well, what about you? You were one of his students.
What you mean in level?
Yeah.
I'm like level 1. I'm like level 1.
But nobody likes to talk about, or you know.
Yeah, I'm just an average.
Yeah.
I'm just an average guy doing jiu-jitsu who is okay. You know what I mean?
I'm sure, depending on who I spoke to, they would give me a different opinion.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'm definitely like nowhere within like the same room as that kind of era of jiu-jitsu. I'm just one of them guys who is a bit like rough around the edges, jiu-jitsu, and got a lot to improve on, but it's not going to stop till I die. Just going to keep training, and I think that's always what's got me through, is just the bulldog spirit, the constantly trying to go forward, constantly trying to get better. I know I don't pick up techniques very easy. Like, I know that the time working in Birmingham was what probably saved me, because if I was the type of guy that only ever got to a class once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, I'd be like, probably still be a purple belt.
What was your toughest belt? Or what was what did you perceive this is hard?
Well, I think I realised, like, when I was a white belt, I realised it was hard, because I thought I was going to be better.
That you did before.
So I think that was the biggest shock. Was the white, and then because when I was in, I then realised the Brazilian jiu-jitsu way was, you don't like get your own way with eye belts. Like, now it's getting slightly different, but you don't get your own way with eye belts. So that was when I realised that actually I just thought the white belt was just tough. I really do.
And did you think as you progressed through the belts, you were kind of at that level where you should have been, and it was one of those?
I think like when I was a brown belt, I would think I was going to get again. I think Braulio can probably confirm it, but I was going to get my black belt, I think, the same year as Nathan Roberts got his. But because I worked there, I was constantly on Braulio's case going, I ain't good enough for this black belt. And I know your professor's going to give it you when they want to give it you, but they're also probably going to listen a little bit, especially if I worked with Braulio as like a friend. And I was saying, oh, you know, Braulio, I'm rubbish. Like, I wasn't saying I was rubbish, but I was saying like, I'm not worthy of the black belt. I said, and if you're going to give me a black, like, because there was talk of me getting it. He hadn't said he was going to give it me, but there was talk. You know, the talk comes around. You know, and you could
Not
be
been exposed.
Well, yeah, no, maybe in 10 years, you don't know. Probably. There was talk of it going around, and then I used to just, when it was me and Braulio on our own, I used to just like say, oh, you know, because Braulio's school was the main hub, so we had everybody over, like all like guys wanting to come and train. So I used to say, well, you know, it's up to you. If you do end up giving it me, and you want your guy who works on the desk to be getting beaten by people, it's up to you. But I realise now that was my ego. I didn't know at the time, but now looking back, and I tell this to my students, I had an ego that I didn't even know I had, because at the time I didn't think I had one. But I realise now that I was more bothered about not tapping to people than realising that actually enjoy this ride and progress through your belts. I didn't really realise at the time. I just wanted to stay as a brown belt. So I think what happened is, I think he must have thought about it, and then he didn't give it me that time. I think he was definitely going to give it me because my wife, I think he'd contacted my wife to come, and she came, and she was there, and I didn't get it, and I was so grateful I didn't get it. I just didn't. At the time, I just thought, oh, thank God, like I didn't get it. But there's only a few of us like that, I think. I think nowadays, if someone's offered a black belt, they'd rip it out someone's hands.
Well, funny enough,
you know.
So you know the two black belts at Cov, James and Adam?
Yes,
when they got there, so I was up at Cov on Monday training, and I said to Adam, how you getting on? I hope he doesn't mind. But he was like, first few months after Christmas, I'd struggled, and he said it was getting this belt. It was, you know, it kind of caused a few internal battles. And I can imagine it does.
It does. I think it does, and especially where I was as well, because I was in the Lion's Den of Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I was at the best, like, apparently the best, like, Jiu-Jitsu school. So, and then you're the black belt, and I worked on the desk. So you just expected, like me and Norby worked at the desk, on the desk, and, you know, the expectation was always quite high of the people who worked there, and I never felt that I justified that kind of thing. I mean, I probably was better than I thought deep down, because people who know me probably think that I thought that I was better than what I was, but in fact deep down they didn't know that I actually never ever felt that I was good enough, especially for the black belt. But then, going on to something else, but a guy called Charles Negromonte, he came over from Brazil, and then we just had like a phenomenal relationship. I was with him day in, day out. I used to drop him off, pick him up. Like, this is what the lineage of people don't really understand, but, you know, me and Charles spent all day, every day together for ages. And I had private lessons with him, like probably 3 times a week. I'm laughing because I know I'm going to tell you in a minute. And I did that for like probably 12 months. And then he was the link in between Braulio and Victor that helped give me the confidence to think, you know what, okay, bring on the belt. If it's going to come, I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to take it. And then the following year, that was when Braulio gave me the black belt. But it was more like from Charles, the help from Charles Negromonte that he gave me. And the reason I'm laughing is because we always had a joke that I used to try and pay him with protein bars.
Why did he get bigger?
But well, he definitely got bigger. I used to pay him with protein bars and coconut water.
Right.
And we have this ongoing joke now, even to this very day. So he's in Australia now, Charles is. And even to this day, I'll say, like, you know, when you're coming back and do another seminar, I've got some Vita Coca water ready for you and a couple of protein bars.
Bring a stripe.
Yeah, definitely. So Charles was a big help. Charles Nicolamonte was a very big help for me to feel confidence. I still like do a lot of the stuff that we did in the private lessons and stuff. So that was good.
So when did the back go? Because you had surgery, was it 18 months ago?
It was 2 years now.
Okay. And that coincided when you were setting this place up?
Well, that was a big problem.
That must have been a real difficult time.
Yeah, that was a very sad time because I didn't know what was up with my back. I try and shorten it down as much as I can because sometimes I do like to talk. I know people love hearing about my back. they say in my school they say he doesn't shut up about it, but I don't know.
When did you start noticing symptoms enough for you to say?
I was doing hot yoga.
Right. Okay.
I've always been quite, you know, I'm not going to try and say that I was, people thinking, oh, he does hot yoga, he must be good. It's not like that at all. I've always been a bit of a stiff jiu-jitsu guy. I've never really been very like a kind of flexible kind of guy. So I was doing hot yoga. I did hot yoga many years ago and then I stopped it because it was in Yoga Haven in Birmingham. And it was like the other side of town. Braulio was in, like, on the island by 5 Ways. So
the back of Baker's nightclub.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, I don't remember going anywhere like that, but I know that.
Right.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
40.
Oh, well, you're the same age as me. You know where to Baker's back in the
No, because again, I don't know if people know this, but I've never drank.
Right.
I've never gone out or anything. I've only never been with my wife.
Right. Okay.
So she's the only girl I've only been out with her or anything. So I've never gone to that. I don't know. I've never really been interested. Yeah, it's not through one like
nothing wrong with that.
No, I've just never really been into it. So, but I do know that nightclub. In fact, it's meant to be opening again.
Oh God.
That's what Aurora reunion. It was in the paper the other day.
Little side note: one of the head doormen at the time was a big Brazilian called Vol. He was huge.
There you go. Yeah, probably doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But well. Braulio was...
symptoms. When did you start noticing symptoms?
I was doing the hot yoga. I didn't notice the one in Yoga Haven. Then I stopped it for a couple of years. And then a yoga place opened by me called Yoga Rooms. So I started going there and then I was just noticing. I even had private lessons off one of the instructors there. I was noticing that some mornings I really couldn't do. I mean, I'm not that flexible anyway, but like some mornings I couldn't even get like here. I was more like here. And I said to the instructor then, she had a couple of private lessons and she wasn't really doing much. And then one of my mates, black belt as well, good friend of mine who trains here now as well, called Richard Edwards. He basically said try some acupuncture. I tried that, did nothing. Absolutely did nothing. I felt bad. Keep going back to the lady saying it did nothing.
Well, I used to. I've done acupuncture training, and I used to do it, and I don't do it in clinical practice anymore. So, and I don't believe in it anymore. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped. There is. The evidence is a bit mixed. Kind of some physios, well, a lot of physios are trying to move away from it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I had about 5-6 lessons. Things, and the woman used to keep asking me every time I went, like, and I eventually got like a bit embarrassed because I was like, no, I don't feel any different. But in her defence, I didn't know what was up with me.
Well, yeah, but you know, what I would say is, well, why have acupuncture? What was when you hadn't got a diagnosis? You've got to get your diagnosis first of all.
Well, then
before you start modalities, treatment.
Because like in jiu-jitsu, I had loads of injuries. I mean, you're talking about the back, but I've had knee surgeries on both knees. I've had both cartilages cut away on both knees. You know, I've had quite a bit of surgery, not loads, but a bit. But the back was like the bad one. And then you just carry on with your injuries, really, in jiu-jitsu. You just can kind of, I mean, I broke my finger once. I can remember breaking this finger here. And I can remember saying to Brad, I think I broke it. He was killing me, and he was like, "Nah, you ain't broke that." And I was like, oh, I thought, well, he knows more than me. I ain't broke it. So I carried on training. And then I said, no, 2 weeks later, I said, bro, it's killing me. It's still massive.
It's the size of that Swiss ball.
Yeah, it was massive. And he was like, nah. So I went to the hospital and they x-rayed. He said, yeah, it's broke.
And dislocated.
Yeah. So, you know what I did? I taped it up because I can't do much with the finger.
No, that's why.
And you know what I did? Sparred with a boxing glove. Every
like
class.
UFC one.
Yeah, every class. That's what they used to call me. You ask them about in Birmingham about me training with a boxing glove. About 6 months I trained with a boxing glove, just to keep training. So you train through injuries and make it worse.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I made it worse.
Jiu-jitsu it's a very physical sport. It's a good way of breaking down the body.
Yeah.
You need to do, which is what I've seen you do in your functional rehab gym, is something to supplement that. You need to stay strong. You need to do compound lifts. You need to deadlift. You need to squat. You need to bench. You need to stretch joints that get, passive aggressively stretched. When you're on the mat, and you need to there's a lot of maintenance that should go on to complement your jiu-jitsu.
And then it went when I was squatting. That's when it went.
As in,
that's when I couldn't do nothing.
Really,
Right.
So what were you doing? A heavyweight?
No. I was. I mean, I think my back's been more. The problem with the back was more down to being crap in rubbish in the gym. I mean, I'm not saying I'm brilliant at jiu-jitsu, but I think it was more like deadlifting. Like I was deadlifting 220, and it's not a lot of weight. But for my size, it's a decent amount of weight, 220 kg, and it was terrible. It was like Hunchback of Notre Dame.
You fall?
Oh yeah, it was bad. Yeah, it was
you're just
bad.
asking for trouble.
I didn't know at the time. And then I was trying to do over 200 every week then, which I did. And then I just think it's worse and worse and worse. But I was squatting. I was only squatting about 120. And again, I'm not a big squatter, but I was getting up to like around about 170. So I was only on 120, and I just went down, and boom. Something happened. I couldn't get back up. Wow. I had to try and like wobble up on one leg. I was so embarrassed because I didn't know what to do. My stuff was on the floor, my phone and that, because I kept that by the side of me. And I had to kind of wobble down, get up. And I remember getting in my car, just about. I could barely get in. I had to kind of slide my way in, like, you know, it's like, I can't move you back. And I get in the car, I phoned my wife. I said, Babe, I've hurt my back. And she says, all right, do you want me to phone the hospital, doctors? I was like, no, it should be all right. And then I remember, you're probably not familiar with this area, but I'd probably got around about 200, 300 metres in the car. And I said, call the doctors. I said, it's bad, it's really bad. Then I went to the doctors. And over time had gone by, I managed to get, I got private healthcare. So, I got an X-ray, and then I will show you the X-ray and send it, then you'll see how bad it is.
Okay. Well, interestingly enough, X-rays will only pick up the bones, so there must be something. This was MRI. Oh, it was an MRI.
Yeah.
Okay, so give us send it over.
I'll show you the MRI. It's bad.
When you say I don't know this area, when I was a student, I did placement up at Dudley Guest.
Okay,
and Russell's Hall, 2 at Russell's Hall.
Okay, Russell's Hall.
So I've been around.
I know, it's not too bad. Well, I'm on about B&Q.
Okay,
you know where B&Q is, just up the road. Well, I was coming from up that road, and I only got to B&Q on the island, and I said, you need to call the doctors now. I said, it's bad, it's killing. And I don't do that, so my missus knew it was bad.
Right.
She was very upset.
What type of symptoms were you getting? Raging pain?
I couldn't move. Man, I couldn't move. It was like, when I say I couldn't move, it was like I was stuck.
Right.
I was like this, couldn't move. And then like, it eased a bit. I had 2 weeks where I barely did anything. And then it kind of eased, but it never went away. Then they had me on all kind of tablets.
What were you taking?
I was taking like...
Tramadol?
Well, I'll get to tramadol.
A lot of people do.
They, I got naproxen.
So strong anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, there was
cocodamol, diazepam.
They gave me diazepam at first, believe it or not, and I didn't really
want to take it.
Have it. Well, I didn't know what it was.
Oh, right, okay.
It was only somebody said to me, "Oh, that's good to take on a night. It relaxes your muscle."
On a night?
You mean to take it on a night time when I get to bed.
Yes.
So I took 2, but nothing happened. So I stopped taking it. And apparently you get addicted to that.
Diazepam.
Yeah, apparently it's a depression thing.
It's got some. Yeah, it's got some elements of it. Cocodamol's more addictive because it's codeine based, and codeine, codeine is heavily
I didn't get addicted to that. No.
There are people that end up with kind of back pain, chronic pain. It doesn't really get better, and they're popping codeine or cocodamol like there's no tomorrow. That's an epic. That was pretty bad at one point.
And then what happened was I'd gone through a few tablets, but it kept really like. Obviously now I know like what was happening was the disc was ramming into my nerve, and that was when the pain was too bad, but it was happening frequently for nothing.
Right.
And the pain was never going away, but when the pain was heavy, it was horrifically, and that was happening daily. And then I was in that much pain this one Sunday, my wife had to phone the hospital, and it was that bad, they took me through A&E. I didn't even go to A&E, I went straight through A&E. And I had to saw an emergency doctor because they had to get this doctor in because apparently there wasn't enough on. But this doctor, I don't know what happened. He was the weirdest doctor I've ever known. Because
please explain.
I don't know. I didn't even say to my wife, "Is he a real doctor?" He just didn't seem like a real doctor. Honestly, it was odd. It was odd. He'd come in. I think it was snowing at the time, and he was delayed coming in. And anyway, I went through A&E, and the hospital was empty, and I was in this one room.
Is this Russell's
Hall? Russell's Hall,
yeah.
And the A&E was very busy.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I've ever known anybody go past, but I would not have been able to stay in that. It was that bad.
But why was he so weird?
He was just like a joker. It was just a joke. Like, I'm a joker, but this was just weird. He was like an oldish man. It reminded me a little bit of like, what's his name? David, Only Fools and Horses. I forgot his name. David, the guy who does the main thing. Remind me a bit of him, like an old Englishman type.
The character Del Boy.
Del Boy, yeah, but he wasn't like Del Boy when he come into the doctors, like wasn't like smoking that. Just the way he was, like making
with the red. Do you remember that episode with the firmer?
No,
the firmer heat. You never seen that one?
No, I'll have to watch it. But he was like a bit unprofessional for the situation. Right. And I'm not, mate. I'm like, I'm not saying I'm professional. I'm far from it. Unless like I'm on the mats. But like it was just, I was just thinking, oh, this is weird. But anyway, he basically said, what have you taken? He says, I'm going to try you with suppository. And I said, okay, no problem, whatever. Now this is the funny bit. He gives me this thing, and I said, well, what? How am I going to swallow that? And he says, no. He says, you don't swallow that. I said, what am I meant to do with it?
Yeah.
And he was looking at me like I was joking. I was like, no, my wife was there as well. And I was like, I think she knew because she was laughing.
Yeah.
And he says, oh no, you need to insert that.
This. Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean, Mum? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, anyway, he goes out, I have to do that. And they gave me an hour. And they said, if this doesn't calm down, and that was when they introduced me to tramadol.
That must have been, was that an Oromorph capsule?
It was like a bullet.
Yes.
Looked like a bullet.
Yeah.
That was weird. Yeah. And then basically from that day on, because that really numbed the pain a bit, that did. And I was so grateful because I was absolutely like scared to death they were going to rush me into A&E, like into the surgery.
Right.
I didn't really know what was coming. And then he gave me the tramadol. I was on 8 tramadol.
8
a day? Yeah.
Wow.
8 a day and 1 suppository in the morning. It was horrific. It was horrific. I couldn't.
Do you know where you were coming or going?
I never really felt that way. It was a suppositories I had a bit of a nightmare with because I always felt like, obviously when you used them, I felt like it was a good couple of hours before my stomach felt normal. So it almost felt like it was midday before the tablets had kicked in, and then still I wasn't right. I was still in pain, but just enough where I could get up and walk. But I couldn't do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So who did you see? Who did they refer you on to?
Then
consultant.
Then I got my private healthcare.
Right.
And then I got seen, I think it was the Priory.
Right.
In Birmingham. And then I can't remember Mr. Jabbit, or I can't remember his exact name. But what I can say is they did a phenomenal job. Like, I was a bit naive to what the surgery was. I kind of thought like the next day I'd be all right. Well, not
after spinal surgery.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really realise. I just, well, I'm glad I didn't, because I'd probably, I'd have been too chicken to have had it done.
Probably would have backed out.
I probably would have done. So, I remember coming out and I had a tube in my back for a bit that had to drain out any kind of fluid, because if it got onto my spine, I could be paralysed. It's that kind of stuff I didn't realise. Like I said, like when I had the thing, I said, oh, there's still something in my back. And they were like, yeah, that's got to stay there. And I was like, why? I said, it's weird.
I've got to be back on the mats in an hour.
It feels weird on my back. And they were like, well, if that doesn't stay there and fluid goes on your spine, you won't be walking or anything.
Right.
And I was like, oh, is that serious? And they were like, yeah, it's really serious. But then after that, it slowly got kind of better. And I missed out a little bit, actually. I had very bad sciatic pain as well down my leg.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky because I didn't feel any numbness in my foot. So that was, they always asked me that, and I was always grateful to say no. But the pain was horrific. All the way down my butt cheek, all the way down my leg, all the way down to like bottom of my leg.
Yeah.
But then after the surgery, it was very much what the doctor said. It was almost like they cut that disc away, and it just, the vein kind of come out. He said to me, he said it will almost be instant, right, the relief. What I failed to understand is the recovery. The relief was quite instant, but then the recovery, the feeling of like stiffness, like about that.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. So did you go for any post-op physio or rehab?
Yeah, I had physio at the same hospital.
Oh, right.
Because it was private, they paid for like physio. And then I've always had a good friend who's moved to London now. He used to work at MSC in Birmingham, the big movement and strength and conditioning place. His name's Gurdif. He was always doing bits and bobs with me before. He used to always give me like sports massages and stuff. So I got back in contact with Gurdif, and to this very day, he still writes me a programme once a month.
Brilliant.
Even though he's in London, he sends me a programme over once a month.
How long did it take you to, well, how long was it before you started lifting? And it's great to see that, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, there's too many people out there that have back surgery that think, right, I don't need to lift. No, you need to lift. Yeah. You need to learn how to lift properly. You need to learn how to engage your spine in the right position, core, draw back the shoulder blades, and deadlift and squat properly. You just need to do it properly.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people told me not to do stuff, to be honest with you. A lot of my family, especially my mum, she was like, oh, you know, Stu, I've told you, you're going to be a cripple. That's what she used to keep telling me. But she only did it because she was thinking of me. She's from a different era.
Of course,
like,
well, it's just lack of education or understanding.
I'll be honest, I can't remember exactly how long it was, but I definitely think I was back in the groove of doing something within like roughly 4 to 6 weeks.
Wow, back in, into the gym.
Not lifting.
No, but moving. Go for those functional movements.
Yes, I'd know exactly by some of the pictures I took with Gurdif. But it wasn't long.
And what about on the mat? How long was it before you
on the mat would have been like...
No, I don't mean sparring or rolling or anything. Yeah.
Well, on the mat it would have been probably soon. I mean, putting my gear on and teaching and stuff. Or would have been more roughly around about the 3 to 4.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Post-op.
Yeah, but I wasn't sparring or
no, we're just moving around on the mat, and that feels good. That brings its own kind of...
Well, I remember I had knee surgery many years ago, on my one knee, and I actually went to teach on the night of having it done. Well, obviously, I'm not going to try.
What were you teaching? Shooting in for doubles?
Well, I had one of my students and another guy, and then I was telling them what to do. You know what I mean? Yes. My wife took me straight from the hospital. Again, that was private. That was locally around here, actually. And you have to stay in when it's a day case. They won't let you out until you're like okay. And I couldn't move my leg or do nothing, but in my head I was physically okay. So I was like this teaching. My leg was like this, and People help me get up. I just went to the class basically. I'm not going to say I was doing jiu-jitsu, but I was there and I was teaching them a technique. But the back one was obviously a little bit more like difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, so roughly between 3 to 4 weeks, like maybe teaching, and then around about 4 to 6 with the weights and stuff. And I mean, lifting, like you said about doing things properly. It's like sometimes I have a little laugh and a joke with some of the people I know, and they think like when I put these videos up of me doing lifting, they think I'm showing off and trying to show, and I'm like, I ain't being funny, but
no, it's inspiring.
Well, yeah, if you think that, but you know what? Why would I put up videos? If you pay attention to the weight I'm lifting, I think a 13-year-old girl could lift the same amount of weight. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to show exactly kind of what you said. That okay, I run an academy. I like to say to my students, you know, try to do the gym work, try to do jiu-jitsu work. I'm just trying to show them that if my professor can do it, if Stuart can do it, you know, then anyone can do it.
Yeah, I think you're setting a very high example. I think people get triggered far too easy.
Yeah.
And instead of saying showing off, they should be saying, God, he's still got time to get in the gym. He's still, you know, he's had back surgery, knee surgery, and he's still doing this.
No, it's more the opposite. It's more, he's got too much time. He's showing up, you know.
That's down to the individual's perception.
I know. I've learnt that over time. You know, so I try to, and that's really why I try to like put something up of like me doing some kind of fitness. Somebody said to me once, I said, it's always you in the thing. That I said, is Annie there?
Yeah.
Who else can I film? There's Annie here. There's Annie doing it. What you know? It's like I'm the guy running the place. I'm trying to show, like, go to the gym. It shouldn't matter who it's in the video or the picture, but is Annie here? Or when if I go to another gym, I can't say to somebody, can I film you? And just randomly pop it on my posts. It's like, I'm doing it because it's like, hey guys, what you guys doing? You know, profs getting a workout in. Now I know they can't work out then because they're going to go to work, but then they might say to themselves, right then, I need to get in the gym. Right, tonight I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu. That's me really what it's for. Nothing else. If I was going to boast about weights, I'd try and fake it somehow and make it look heavy.
Yeah, but it's egotistical. And that, your belt and the fact that what you do and who you are, that completely equalises all of that.
Yeah, so well, in some people's minds, but yeah. It's just banter at the end of the day, but you know what I mean. It's what people do sometimes.
Right, I'm conscious of the fact that you've got to get away.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up a little bit. Any messages you want to get out there? Any advice? Anyone coming into jiu-jitsu? Anything?
I mean, firstly, I 100% want to thank Braulio and Victor just for obviously giving me the opportunity to do what I do on a daily basis. I was very fortunate. I was one of the people that was very lucky enough to learn off Braulio and Victor every day, day in, day out, 3 times, you know, because back in the day, Braulio and Victor were teaching every class, you know, and then we all started to help a bit, but they were there all the time, mate. They worked more than anyone, you know, than a workhorse. That's what they were like, you know. So I think it's down to them. You know, they trusted in me to give me the opportunity to blossom. Obviously, Gracie Barra for the support that they do. They, you know, do nothing but try and improve us as instructors to benefit students like yourself to come into the game and to hopefully get, you know, to get the best that you can out of it. In terms of people coming into jiu-jitsu, I would say no matter what team you are, no matter what, like, who's teaching you, I think if you're stepping into the door of jiu-jitsu, it's a good thing to do, and I think it's something that's going to take a lot of perseverance, and I think it's something that you should try to overcome the obstacles because they're going to be in the way. Even as black belts, we have days where we think, well, we're rubbish, you know, it's not working, but you know, it's kind of like a relationship, in it. You don't wake up every single day and think, oh, this is the best day of my life ever. You know, there's always going to be them days where you've got to dig deep and think like, okay, I'm going to make it happen today on the mats, although I didn't have a good day last week. So, you know, just enjoy the ride. And for parents, I say this a lot in my school, is you can't force your kids to do jiu-jitsu, so there's no good trying to. You know, I've got 3 children. My daughter's a nightmare. She's 6. she just runs around the mat like an headless. You know, she's crazy. Yeah, she learns absolutely nothing, knows nothing, and you know, she's terrible. But she gets on the mat once or twice a week, and she's okay. I've got another son who is, I think he's here with me now.
Is that the boy that's 12 today?
Yes, it's his birthday today.
Fantastic.
He's very good. He's up for it.
Yeah.
He's developed very well. He's won every major competition in Europe. Really, he's won the worlds. Obviously, not the worlds as in the IBJJF one, but he's won the elite promotions one, worlds, Europeans, nationals, British, all them ones. He loves it, so I don't have to really drive him so much. My other son, he enters all the competitions as well, but he doesn't really push himself as much as the other son. But I treat them all the same, okay? I don't force Lucas to do it, I don't force Lottie. If Lottie doesn't want to do it, I don't Mecca. Alex, I don't really need to force him because he just wants to come. But my message really out there to parents is get your child into jiu-jitsu, because for me, I think it will benefit their life, not just today, but for the rest of the days of their life. So I really do. I think it's like an education. You can't force them, but what I will say is try to educate them, because if you say, like, a kid's going to get bored and then say, like, I don't want to go anymore, and then you don't want to force them as a parent, what I say is try and be clever. Try and say to them, okay, you don't want to go, don't make him go. Okay, that's fine. Next day is going to come, or next week. Do you want to go? No, I don't want to go. Okay, well, what about if you go today, and then maybe you can have this, or I can do this for you, I can make this day special for you this day, and try and encourage them that way, okay? And try to see what makes your child tick, and try and incorporate that in some way in jiu-jitsu. Speak to the professor, speak to the coach, see whether there's something they can do, because I think by their teens, it's going to be worth it. I've got some girls here now that started with me at like 10, and they're still training. Now, I don't want them ever to get into a fight. I don't want any of my kids ever to get into a fight, ever. But those girls, now they're moving into secondary school, they're just moving in now to secondary school, been in there about a year. No one's picking on them girls. No, and I'm not being girls is easier or harder, but I do think for girls they have a lot of pressure on them as like teenagers, you know, to look a certain way. And I think this is going to give them the confidence to say, you know what, I am who I am, and I'm going to be who I'm going to be. You know, and the same for the boys. And I just think it's such a beautiful thing to have at that age. Okay, or if it can't be jiu-jitsu, get them into something else that's going to give them the confidence. It could be anything. It could be rock climbing. Could be, I don't know, a sport of some kind. Just get them into something that's going to. But don't be so hasty to stop it if they just say, oh, I don't want to go today. Let it go a little bit, let it go a little bit, let them play on their terms. Okay, we'll go today and we'll have a chat with professional, we'll see whether we can do this for you, or have a chat with your dad or your mum or your nan or your granddad or your aunt, your uncle, and see whether we can make something. See whether you can coach them to get inspired again. Because I know one thing, no parent, well, good parent should I say, if a kid said, I'm not going to school today, I'll say, okay, don't go. You're going to talk to them and say, hey, Alex, okay, you don't want to go to school today. What about when you leave school? What are you going to do when your mum and dad can't support you in everything? You're going to have to fight for yourself. Look, you see these people on the TV. This is why this is... what I'm trying to say is you're not going to say that to a jiu-jitsu, but I'm saying you've gone a little bit extra to try and educate the child. Try and educate them why you wanted them to get into jiu-jitsu in the first place. What about when you're 16, or what about when you're 12 and you go to secondary school? This is going to help you feel confident enough to be who you want to be and not let anybody else force you in another way. And there's not just jiu-jitsu that does that, by the way. There's other things. So just get them into something. You know, this world's too... It's a bit too mean to not prepare them for something. And I hope it never happens. But in the meantime, I'm going to prepare them as much as I can.
Brilliant. Positive message, Stuart. Thanks very much. It was much appreciated, and cheers.
No
Thanks
problem.
for your time, giving it up on your son's birthday, and for having me as a guest over here. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Cheers,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you.